as an example, they priced it at $925,000 and they got $1.1 million. The price when they priced it was, the comparable prices were $925. Now all of a sudden it's 1.1 because 10 buyers went out after it. But those 10 buyers have probably already settled on properties, and now that craze is over. So is the price still 1.1? I don't think so. I think you've got to have a cushion to come down a little bit, because, if you're still pricing 1.1 because they got 1.1, I mean, there's a property in Lake Barcroft that got 1.4 million off water. You can't use that as a comp. That's an extreme push in the value. So you have to be careful.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt. That is Shawn, and welcome to our show. Shawn, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about dual agency gone wrong, a chart that's going to show you why the end of September is going to be crucial for the housing market, and 7 of the most ridiculous requests that real estate agents have fielded. So let's start with a double-end real estate sale gone wrong. This is from Sarasota, and it comes to us from NBC News Channel 8. Double-end real estate sale in Sarasota nets big commission but provokes lawsuits and questions. There's a reason why dual agency, double representation is illegal in a lot of states, and it's illegal in Florida as well. So technically, this was not dual agency, but what it was one real estate agent basically conducting both sides of the transaction. He ended up representing the seller and then was essentially doing menial tasks, basically paperwork back and forth for the buyer. So long story short, Bird Key, by the way, this looks like an amazing neighborhood in Sarasota. Yeah. I would love to go. This is a little peninsula, or I guess it's a key that just has obscene houses. Think multi-million-dollar houses, and a house was listed for sale for $4.5 million. A buyer bid $500,000 over that price, and they didn't get it, and the buyer was shocked. And fast forward a little bit, the buyer's walking around, the would-be buyer's walking around the neighborhood, just checking it out, runs into the seller walking their dog, strikes up a conversation, and the seller goes, "I never got your offer. I would have accepted this offer. Your offer is a lot better than the offers that I received." Whoa. There were multiple offers on the property. So, Shawn, we know where this is headed. Seller lists the property. Seller's agent fields the offers. There's a highest offer that does not win, and lo and behold, as it turns out, the listing agent ended up getting both sides of the commission of the lower offer. What are your thoughts on this transaction and dual agency in general?
The snakes. I mean, this is what causes a bad name in our real estate industry. There's always going to be snakes out there that are wired for making money. That's all they care about. They don't care about relationships, their transaction. I don't know how they sleep at night. Money is not my motivation. I mean, yeah, I have to make money, but it's like, I want to be able to sleep at night. That's my main thing. And this is just horrible. First off, dual agency is something that we do not practice. We're allowed to do this. And basically what it is, when you sign the listing agreement, there is a check mark in that listing agreement. Are you able to do dual agency? Yes or no. And are you able to do designated agency? Yes or no. Dual agency would be if I was representing the seller and a buyer came to me and I said, yes, I can represent both of you. I'm never going to do that. I have actually done this in the past, and I've learned my lesson. It was ugly. It was not fun. It was too stressful. People always think that they're being taken advantage of, and it's just like, no more. I don't care about the money. Let's represent one person. Let the other person either get their own representation, represent themselves. Designated agency is when, hey, if I meet a buyer, I can say, hey, Matt, you represent this person. I'm going to represent the seller who I was always representing. You represent the buyer. And that way there is a separation. And honestly, Matt and I have written contracts before. He's represented sellers or buyers and vice versa. And we've always been on the up and up where we're not sharing information. We're true to representing our client. That is a designated agency, which we agree to. But the fact that this guy didn't even say that he got this offer, I mean, that's rule number one. I mean, this is your duty to your seller is to, show all offers, present all offers in a timely manner to your client. And he didn't do that because he was greedy, and the greed caught up to him, thankfully. And it caught up to him in a big way because, people are going to find out. They're going to find out what you're doing wrong. And, if you're not honest with yourself, you're not honest with your clients, that lie is going to be exposed. And thankfully, it was exposed in this case by the guy walking around the neighborhood after he had bought, and he runs into the seller. That is such a coincidence. And, it's karma, man. It's coming back at him.
And when Shawn says greed, for those keeping track at home, $4.5 million house, the commission that went to the brokerage is $276,000. So that's
stupid.
Both sides of the transaction. And there's a few other little tidbits in here. The buyer, immediately didn't know what was happening, ended up purchasing a property in the same neighborhood. I mean, this is a neighborhood where if you want to live here, you want to live here. There's only what looks like 100 or so houses. This is a very cool community.
So it's a tight-knit community, and the fact that you're doing it in a they're going to find out.
They're going to find out. And what was interesting was they ended up buying from this agent anyways. So they were essentially unrepresented, and then this agent was the listing agent. So I think that, he ended up getting another commission. So this agent finagled, the double ended, and then the buyer that got snubbed ended up using the same agent. So maybe the buyer fired their original buyer's agent or something like that.
Well, here's the thing, right? So he was, oh yeah, maybe they did. And then he was like, oh, you know what? I'll just find him something else. So he's getting 3 commissions now on these $4.5 million house. This is greed. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
It doesn't pass the smell test. Now, ultimately, what's 276 divided by 2? What, 130 something?
I mean, you're not happy with a $130,000 commission?
Yeah. So what's your reputation worth? Is it worth $130,000? I hope not. I hope it's worth at least a couple zeros more than that, because now you Google this agent's name. It doesn't matter the agent. I don't want to give the agent a name out. I don't want to give the brokerage out, because any agent, any brokerage could be guilty of this. Keep in mind, it's an ongoing
investigation as
so,
well. So I mean,
innocent until proven guilty.
Exactly.
But if you're watching on YouTube, what I'll do is I'll list and link this article below, and you can be the judge or jury on whether or not you believe this agent, who they did come out with a statement saying that, at no point they were treated unfairly. He did present the offer, but the agent did advocate for the other offer, the unrepresented offer, claiming that it was the cleanest offer. Mm-hmm. Although a clean offer, we've talked about this. What's the difference between an offer that, is clean and has less contingencies versus an offer that's $500,000 higher? I think that, had that $500,000 offer been presented fairly, this would have had a different outcome.
Yeah. How clean does it have to be $500K over? I mean, that's pretty darn clean. So, yeah.
So definitely, we never advocate for dual agency, but how can someone, if someone is unrepresented like this gentleman was, and they wrote an offer, or even if they are represented, how can they know for sure that their offer is being presented? Like, do you ask for confirmation from the seller's agent that your offer was presented? How can we avoid this? Because this is front page news, but I would, I'd hearken a guess that this has happened more times than once.
Yeah, and maybe there has to be an app that somebody has to create that says, hey, seller has reviewed, and you get, an automatic app. That's probably a pretty good kind of thing.
I've heard of someone having their seller sign all the offers. Yeah. And saying, yeah, I received it.
That's true, yeah.
I don't know if you want your seller signing offers that they aren't accepting.
Well, they'll just initial or say, that front page, say,
okay.
do not accept this offer, sign, blah, blah,
But
blah. Right?
yeah, so sometimes.
But could you
we'll-
finagle that? Yeah,
Yeah.
easily, right?
But
I mean,
sometimes we'll submit offers, and then I don't know about you, but I've submitted an offer before. I haven't received confirmation, and then I've just received an update that my offer wasn't accepted.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wait, we skipped a few steps in the process.
Yeah, and some agents are like that where they're just very clinical about it and they just send off their offers. I personally, I mean, I'll have 15 offers. I call every one of them, and say, hey, thanks for the offer. This is what happened, and, we didn't take yours. But, the thing is, I had a call the other day. I have a listing coming up, and I don't have a sign up. It's just going through the neighborhood that it's coming up, right? And it's not listed yet. So there are rules once you have that listed. But a person called me and was like, hey, do you have dual agency on this? And I said, no, I don't. And he was like, because I'm, looking to make a deal and blah, blah, blah. I said, well, we could have one of our teammates represent you and I can represent the seller. I was like, I'm not representing both parties. And then he's like, well, I kind of do have a buyer's agent, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, listen, use your buyer's agent. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not for trying to steal somebody's business, right? Like, if you have a buyer's agent, you like them, use them. Don't try to cut them out of the deal. I'm not, I don't know. Again, karma coming back to you.
That is someone that is looking for a deal, and it doesn't matter what agent they end up working with.
That's the problem. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the second article. This comes to us from Fortune.com. The article is entitled, "This Chart Shows Why the Housing Market May See an End of September Shock." And if you've been following the news, this has to do with the moratorium, the forbearance program, which is winding down on September 30th. And the article states that there's still 1.7 million borrowers enrolled in this program, Shawn. So at the end of this program, a few things can happen. You can go into foreclosure, you can pay it off, you can work with your lender to get out of this and get back up to on track, or you can sell your property. So what this article is stating that says, hey, at the end of this deadline, we may start to see more and more properties come on the market as home buyers are they no longer have forbearance. So Shawn, I'll list and link, and I'll put up this graphic on YouTube if you're watching, the projected monthly exits from mortgage forbearance. It looks like a lot of properties are going to be coming on the market in late September and October. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, the good news is that they're going to be coming on the market and they're not going into foreclosure because the values are up. So that's the good news. Had this been different in a different market where we're on a downside and your values have dropped, then there'd be a lot of foreclosures, and that's a mess. So hopefully, if they do come on the market, and not everybody's going to sell, right? I mean, people are going to come out of this and they're going to say, all right, thank God I had this forbearance and now I can climb my way out of this hole and keep my home. And I'm hoping that's what a lot of people do. But there are going to be the people that say, you know what, maybe home ownership isn't for me. I need to get out of this and I want to be able to just, pay rent. So let me sell and I'll go rent somewhere and be happy and, go that route. So I think the bigger picture, and I'm wondering, I've been talking to a few agents and seeing how kind of there's a transition, and there's always a seasonality to markets, right? And usually, like in our market, in the Northern Virginia market, spring is always the best time to sell. It's the hardest time to buy because there's just so much competition. Then the summer months go in, and late summer's slow. Then the fall market kicks in a little bit, gets a little better, and then we hit the winter market and it's slow again. And in talking to some agents, there are definitely pockets that are still getting multiple contracts, but I think those pockets are getting smaller and smaller, and I think that properties are starting to sit, and maybe we're going into hopefully a normal market now. So I think that's more of the news story that I'm thinking about is, are we kind of transitioning now into a normal market? And the reason I'm saying this is because I've had multiple conversations with places I've shown that I'm saying, and I tell my clients, like, listen, I don't think we're in the same market. I don't think we're going to be competing against multiple offers or 5 offers or 10 offers. You might be the only one, or there might be one other. So don't think that that you're going to have to write this amazingly crazy, stupid offer anymore. And I'm starting to see that.
Yeah, and the article states that, the big question, as Shawn just mentioned, is how many of these borrowers that we're struggling to make payments are going to sell. And Zillow ran the numbers and estimated that about 25% of the 1.7 million borrowers that are in forbearance are likely to list their home for sale. So if Zillow's accurate, if Zillow is correct, maybe they are, maybe they aren't, that would be an additional 200,000 homes coming on the market in the next 2 months alone.
Yeah, that's a big number, and that could flood the market. You know, I mean, but we'll see. I hope.
It sounds like a big number. It does.
But that's nationwide. So really,
nationwide.
That's not
I
that
don't
big.
know if that is. And right now, U.S. inventory, reading from the article, is still 38% below pre-pandemic levels.
Yeah. So I mean, we're still running on, how many months of surplus? Probably 0, 1. So we don't have the inventory, and we need the inventory. So this will just get us. I mean, $200,000 nationwide isn't a lot. So hopefully that'll get us into the more of a normal market, right?
Yeah, I think, again, something you said earlier is people that are struggling with payments, they may look to sell and then rent.
Yeah.
So I think possibly a spike in inventory nationwide, a reasonable spike, not necessarily in, big urban cities, but throughout the entire nation. More of a later fall market, if you will, because I'm still trying to justify and describe the fall market. I was listening to a real estate panel yesterday, and I can't remember what speaker said it, but someone had asked a question, hey, how are you describing, the listing price in the market to your seller when the seller's looking at all these comparable properties from 2020 and early 2021, and they want that high number? And the agent said, well, we just came out of what is possibly the best real estate market ever, and now we're in the second best real estate market ever.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, is where do you price these things? And that's where you have to keep your sellers grounded. And it's like, listen, that was 2 or 3 months ago when, which is a comp, but they, as an example, they priced it at $925,000 and they got 1.1 million. The price when they priced it was, the comparable prices were $925. Now, all of a sudden, it's 1.1 because 10 buyers went out after it. But those 10 buyers have probably already settled on properties, and now that craze is over. So is the price still 1.1? I don't think so. I think you've got to have a cushion to come down a little bit because, if you're still pricing 1.1 because they got 1.1, I mean, there's a property in Lake Barcroft that got 1.4 million off water. You can't use that as a comp. That's an extreme push in the value. So you have to be careful. So, that's the thing with sellers. Hey, be careful on your pricings. Make sure that you're not going crazy because those things, you have to see that they went nuts, You told me to remind you of something, and that is
Brokers Open.
Yeah.
What was happening? I was looking at new listings or something, and I saw one that had a Brokers Open. I thought to myself, does anyone do Brokers Opens anymore? Because properties, they just sell so quickly, right?
Yeah.
Like, why have a Brokers Open on Tuesday with cheese and wine and this and that and the other? That was in the morning. I grabbed, lunch and then got back to my computer working. And a buyer reached out, wanted to see about 5 houses. I looked up those houses, and one of them was having a Brokers Open.
No way.
And I'm like, you know what? I should probably check this out.
Yeah.
I should probably go. I went to the Brokers Open. The house has been on the market for about 60 days. Days on market in that neighborhood is, it takes, a couple months to sell these types of properties. And I thought to myself, this is still a very good thing to do. Like, get a tour from the agent, learn all about the property. And I was initially poo-pooing the Brokers Open because, in this market, hey, if it's not gone by the weekend, you're yesterday's news. But as we start entering that fall market and, rewinding and slowing down a little bit, hey, depending on the price point, a Brokers Open is still a very good opportunity to showcase your property.
Yeah, and so did you learn a lot from that?
I did.
Which house? I mean, was this the...
It was Millwood.
Millwood.
So now when I show my buyer, I'm not going to open up the closet and say, here's the bedroom. Oh, I mean the closet.
Yeah.
You ever open
You
up
can actually have a
You ever open
conversation.
up a linen closet and you're like, this
Hey, could you tell me where the laundry room is?
yeah.
No, I can't. I
Yeah.
really can't. But now you have all the ammunition for that buyer. You can
Because we're
tell
the
them
expert.
exactly-
I mean, it's our job to go and do our research.
Well, that's always the tough thing is can you do all the research on every house that you're going to show? I mean, it's tough when you're really busy. You're not going to be able to answer all the questions. I'm struggling sometimes going to show a house. I'm like, all right, how many bedrooms? Okay. And then I try to give them a summary of the house and actually either send them the listing so they have it in HomeSnap or have a printout or something that they can write on, if
A
we're going to see
printout?
a lot. Yeah,
A
sometimes
printout?
Sometimes I still do printouts. I'm old school. Okay.
Who are you?
Hey, sometimes
You fax your offer?
Sometimes these people that are. All right, so I still fax my offers. Matt, did you get my offer yesterday?
My fax machine is down.
But still, seriously, like you have to review those things to try to get the information to them so that you don't sound like an idiot. But it's hard sometimes, But doing this work is the sign of a good agent, and you're learning the market.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I need to start doing some brokers opens, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the third topic. This comes to us from Inman.com. This is 7 of the most ridiculous requests agents have received from clients. Let's start with number 1, checking for ghosts. Someone, Seth Williams, a broker in Massachusetts, had a buyer that was interested in a property and they were suspicious. And once they toured it, they thought it was haunted, and they wanted to hire a home inspector to check for ghosts.
I'm your man for that. I can do that. I have an EMF
Do you have
detector.
I was just going to ask.
I do.
Well, last week you said you watched some TV show with haunted dolls.
Yeah, I mean, what else are you going to watch?
What do you do in your free time?
Yeah, I mean, I'm laying in bed and I'm like, what's there to watch? I don't want to watch, So I'll throw on some like different paranormal stuff, which is fun, But yeah, I was into that, like when the Ghost Hunters thing came out like years ago. I was kind of into it. I was like, this is cool stuff. So my wife for my birthday one time just got me one of these like simple EMF detectors. So hey, if you want to check for ghosts, I can do for, electromagnetic signs in the property.
So when the inspector, when you find signs of ghosts, now are you remedying that with a seance, or are you getting a buyer credit?
I think it's a sage.
You sage it.
No, I don't know. I have no idea.
Sounds like you do have an idea.
All right, so I watch a little bit too much of it, I guess.
I think sage is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. But truthfully, how do you check for ghosts, and like, is that real? Like,
how do you check for things that don't exist?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's a little strange.
All right, number 2 is roses. There, Eva Lynn from Lynn Realty Group in California says there's one time where she encountered a home seller whose property included a stunning rose garden. So stunning that she wanted to take it with her when she moved. The problem was she hasn't purchased a replacement home. So they countered back and forth, and she wanted to come back after the close of escrow, dig up the rose garden, and take it with her to her new house. Guys, the flowers, they convey. You come back, you're digging up. You're stealing private property right there.
You have to say that in the contract. And I'm glad you're actually saying this right now, because now that I remember, my client right now is saying, I want to keep this tree because it's of significance. It's a little, thankfully I don't have it on the market yet, but they, it was like you bought whenever they were born or something like that. And so they want to take it small.
You can
tree.
tape an index card on the tree, say it doesn't convey.
This does not convey. Yeah. I have to talk to her about that. So you never know, man. People want different things.
Next one. I kind of like this one. Designer clothes. Pila Gray Jesse, a broker with California, says that the seller owned a popular designer name brand, and the client wanted several pairs of expensive jeans at the close of escrow. Jesse, the broker, thought the client was joking, but after a long and serious look, she knew he was serious.
Wow, that's hilarious.
He's negotiating what he wants.
Hey, man, I like your jeans. That's a compliment. I like your jeans. Send them to me at closing, or else no deal.
That's pretty good.
Nice.
I like that one. This one I do not like. Keep the dog. Matt Ward of the Matt Ward Group in Tennessee says that one transaction, the seller wanted the buyer to keep the dog. So the buyer was in contract negotiations, and the seller countered and said, listen, the dog, was born here, grew up here, lived here its whole life, and for the dog's mindset and whatnot, it'd be better if you just adopted the dog.
That's crazy. We talked about this before. There was wasn't it a rental or was it a sale? It was a rental,
It was
right?
a rental.
Hey, come rent my place, but you're keeping my dog, by the way, at the same time. That's crazy. You can understand it in the dog standpoint. Oh, he loves the house and he wants to stay at his house, but doesn't he love you, the owner, a little more?
Right.
You would think.
I was thinking they were gonna say like, oh, the buyer is trying to like buy the seller's dog.
Yeah.
That's just like, come on, you can't like buy someone's family member.
Yeah.
All right, next one, no police allowed. This one's a little sketchy. Chemo Quants from the Chemo Quants team in California said that she's faced a bizarre number of client requests, but this one might be the creme de la creme. A supermodel showed interest in the place. Everything was going well until she placed a bizarre request. She requested for a clause in the contract that does not allow the police to enter the residence no matter what happens. It was totally impossible to comply with, so we had to let the offer down.
That's ridiculous.
That's just strange.
That's very strange. I mean, that's just saying,
is the
like, I
supermodel
don't wanna
writing
buy
it,
this
or
house.
is there someone else writing that?
I mean, can't you just? I don't know. I don't get that. That's really weird.
Something's going on there.
Yeah.
All right, next one, bathrooms and showers. Jason Simrad of the Sims Real Estate Group in Vancouver wrote that one client wanted to check out the bathrooms in the home before signing a contract. It was more than just checking out the bathrooms.
And we use them.
He wanted to use every bathroom in the property, and he asked me to put it in the contract. It was not part of the contract, but the landlord surprisingly allowed it, and my client bought the house once he made sure he enjoyed the shower. So not only, the toilets and the sinks, but also the showers.
People are weird, dude. I mean, that just shows you. People are weird. It's a shower.
Hey,
right?
I understand it. What's the water pressure like?
I get water pressure. I get. Turn on the shower. Hey, and you can feel it against your hand while you're standing there, but to actually shower it. And the thing is, you can change fixtures to make your water pressure better. You can go to where your water pressure and turn that little screw, and it'll up your water pressure.
Yeah, you're not stuck with the same shower head and the same pressure.
I mean, it's like, God, are you going to make changes? I mean, do you want that same toilet seat on there? I don't. You know what I mean? Like,
give it an old test run. All right, last one, hose the windows. Christina Giaquinto of Modular Closets wrote that she once had a pair of clients who were very interested in the sound of rain. So they would go around to these properties, and the client asked the agent to go outside the house and use the hose at these houses and spray down the windows with a hose. And she's like, why am I doing this? And eventually it came out that they wanted the peace, serenity, and tranquility, and their ultimate goal was to find a house that sounded nice when it rained.
Can you understand why now real estates are also psychiatrists, psychologists, whatever you want to call them, right? I mean, our job is so weird sometimes. We have to deal with strange requests. I get it with the sound of rain. Were you ever at my old house?
Yeah, it sounded like you were under siege.
Yeah,
when it was windy.
So when you have like a mid-century modern house like I had, you have these lofty ceilings, but you don't have an attic, or like you just have a roof. And so when I lived in there, I was like, wow, it's really loud. Like you gotta turn the TV up when it's raining hard. So when I replaced the roof, I actually put in another inch of insulation just to quiet that down.
Did that help?
It did. It actually
Nice.
did. Yeah. So, yeah, I understand that, but putting a hose on the windows and
I gotta think. I can't think offhand. I think I've had some ridiculous requests, but I don't think I can match these requests on this list.
These are pretty crazy.
If you're interested, what I'll do is I'll list and link this article below, guys. That just about does it for another episode of the Matt and Shawn Show. If you made it this far, be sure to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, we'll see you then.
Thanks, guys. Take care.